Welcome back to the Digg podcast. I am your host, Caroline O'Neill, and today you're listening to a Digg highlight. So, this is a highlight moment from my conversation with Gerry Hussey. Now, this episode is one of the most listened to episodes on the Digg podcast, and it's not hard to see why or to hear why. If you want to listen to the whole thing, we will link it in the show notes. But this is a highlight moment, and it was my question to him about opening up our minds to opportunity. Now, his answer to me has helped shape how I approach everything now. He talks about how to speak to yourself, how to speak to that part of your mind that actually helps you achieve your goals and dreams. He always believed his book would be number one. He said it, he wrote it down, he told anyone that would listen, and it was. So, how do we do that? How do we stop putting our hopes and dreams in a box and afraid of what people will say, afraid it might never happen? It's not going to happen if we don't do what Gerry says. So I hope you enjoy it. It's helped change my mindset in so many ways. And I've achieved a lot since I had my conversation with Gerry, and I put a lot of it down to him. He's an amazing man. I want to ask you a favour before you listen as well. I ask you every week, but if you're watching on YouTube, if you hit that subscribe button, and then Apple and Spotify, if you hit that follow button, it means we can keep getting amazing guests like Gerry that can help change our lives. Let's face it. I hope you enjoy your Digg highlight.
There's an expression I use and it says, your life goes in the direction of the stories you tell yourself. So your subconscious mind is listening to everything you say. And it believes it. I'm not good enough. That won't work. That won't happen. So we have a thing in our brain called the Reticular Activating System. And the Reticular Activating System is a very specialized part of the brain to do with awareness. So there's so much going on in the world at any given moment. If the brain was trying to concentrate on everything, it simply would get scrambled. So the brain tries to take out quickly what's not important so that you can hyper-focus on what is important. So neuroscience has proven that we're only ever probably aware of 50% of what's happening in the world. Half the stuff that we don't even see it. I never saw that. Gee, I never heard that. So the reticular activating system works the same as if you go on Google and you type in red car for €50,000 and you're looking, trying to buy that car, and you do that over and over again, suddenly you're on DAP.ie and an ad comes in for a red car. Then you're on some other website and suddenly Instagram, everywhere you go, your feed starts feeding you this. So we know how social media works. The more you express an interest in something, the more you click, you like, you share certain content, certain images, then social media says, right, load more of those onto their feed, and anything they're not expressing an interest in, take it away. So no two people's Instagram is the same, no two people's Google. That's the genius behind it. Target marketing. It will only sell you what it knows you're likely to buy. It won't waste time with others. Now, where did they get that idea from? They got that from the reticular activating system in the brain. Your brain is constantly allowing you to be aware of the things, only the things that match your inner story. And you will never be consciously aware of stuff that doesn't match your inner stories. In psychology, we call it pattern matching. So whatever you tell yourself, the conscious brain is only allowed to see the things in the world that match its unconscious beliefs. I was lucky my mother said, you're going to have millions of people. So I know that's going to happen. Long before my book came out, before I even started writing the first page, I sketched out what the cover would look like and I put #1 bestselling. I put international bestseller. On my third book, I have New York Times bestseller. When it was on Easton's window, Miriam, my wife, said, geez, did you ever believe you'd have a book on the front window of Easton's? And I said to her, well, I didn't write for the back shelf. I knew it was going to be there. Because why wouldn't it be? Because I had meditated, I had visualized, I have spoken about these things. I've primed my reticular activating system. And when I can see the success, then I'm going to write a better book. If this book is going to be on the front window of Easton's, it better be good. I could see this being on the shelf beside Gabor Mate and Deepak Chopra. It better be good. And there was a time you're like, I just rush through this and get it done. When you're writing a book, you get the very boring process, and it's easy to get demotivated, and it's easy to just hand in something that's a bit less. But the fact that I knew this is going to be scrutinized, this is going to be on the front shelf, this is going to be side by side with the heavyweights in my field, by God, this better be good. I was so excited about it. Very few things have happened in my life that have surprised me. Because I pick what I want. I meditate, I visualize, and I speak about it before it's long before it's happened. We hired the National Concert Hall. We had been doing events for 220 people. It was the biggest event I ever did just before COVID. In the middle of COVID, I'm watching all this fear and worry and stress, and I'm like, somebody needs to do something about this. So who's somebody? Me. So I rang up the concert hall, went into Captain who runs the concert hall, said, I want to book this out. I want to do an event next and pick the date. And she's like, but we're in the middle of lockdown, Gerry. I know. Lockdown probably won't be over. It'll be over. She's like, well, to book it, you're going to have to pay a deposit. And then if you don't go ahead, we're going to keep the deposit. I'm like, yeah, no problem. I'm going to pay the deposit now. But she said, we're not going to be open, Gerry. I said, you will be open. Pay the deposit. Pay the deposit, we start selling tickets. Then it was 50% capacity. And I said to her, I stood on the stage and something told me this will be a sellout event. So all the way, she's like, no. So 6 weeks before the event, we had all the tickets sold, half capacity, 500. And with about 6 weeks ago, she rang me up and said, Gerry, you never guess. Your full capacity. Put the tickets back on sale. The only caveat was about 2 weeks before, or 6 weeks when we put the 500 extra tickets back on sale, she said, they'll all have to wear masks. I said, I want them singing so there'll be no masks. She said, no, there'll have to be masks. I said, if there has to be, there has to be, but there'll be no masks. So I hear this story all the time. This is going to be a sellout event, packed to the rafters, no mask. The day before the event, the mask mandate was removed. And we hold the record for the biggest indoor event post-COVID in Ireland. Now, that's the story of my life. We say, how did you know that? Even my wife at times says, I don't know, there's something in this. And I'm not just saying, oh, just meditate and it works. I'm not saying that. It's like, you can visualize winning the lotto ticket, winning the lotto all you want, but you got to go buy the ticket. When you're certain in your heart and soul that's going to happen, you get out, you buy the ticket, you do the hard work, you don't get distracted. So for me, I become laser focused on something. So there's no distraction in my business. I have simple rules, no distraction. We never repeat a mistake. We can make any mistake we want, but we never repeat it. The minute we make a mistake, we sit down, we figure out why we made this mistake, and we change the system. So we're highly efficient, we're highly organized, and we speak only about what we can control, and we only speak about the vision that we want. At the start of COVID, everybody said your business is finished. We had no online business. I'd never done a Zoom call. I'd never heard of Zoom. I'd never written a book. And one night at 10:10, I realized we've probably one more rents in our bank account and then we're done. And I was just after hiring a load of staff. So on the call the next morning, I said, I don't know how, but this is going to be the greatest year of our business. We have to find a way. So let's just think about it. So the question I asked was, if this was to be an amazing year, what would enable that? Sometimes we ask a question, what would stop us from being successful? And we can list all them. What will enable us, even in this environment? So the quality of the questions you ask is so important. So for me, every morning I wake up, how can I become happier today? We don't always get to control what's happening in the outside world. We don't always get to control what happens in our life. But we always get to control our response. So what's happening now? WIN, in order to win, you have to ask yourself, what's important now? So I wake up in the morning, regardless of what's happening in the world, I practice my meditation, my exercise. And I ask myself, what is the greatest version of me? What will enable the best version of me come alive today? And no matter what's happening around me, what choice am I making? How am I choosing to respond? If you can control your breath, you can control your thoughts, you can control where you're putting your energy. And if you're only putting your energy, attention, and awareness into the things you can control and into the things that you want to manifest, and you're not giving 1 inch of your time or energy to something you can't control or to something you fear, it is amazing how focused and energized you become. No distraction, no fear, no uncertainty, no ambiguity. This is what we're doing. This is how we're going to do it. And we'll turn up, and I'll finish by saying the right person with the right process never worries about the outcome. So you got to turn up as the right person. Leading self is the start. Then what's the right process? What is the process to manifesting everything? Whether you want to grow more followers, grow more business, increase sales, hire staff, what's the best process? Don't worry about the outcome. The right person with the right process never has to worry about the outcome. And if the outcome isn't what you wanted, go back and adjust the process. And we all fail. I failed millions of times. Sometimes you fail 10 times before you hit it. When you fail, don't allow the outcome to consume you. Just go back and say, what in our process needs to be improved? And in business, we need to be constantly improving the quality of our people, the health of our people, and we need to be constantly improving our process and worrying less about the outcome. But too many businesses are so driven, recklessly, blindly obsessed with outcomes that the people are tired, the people are exhausted, and something in the process isn't right. So right person, the right process, somehow, lo and behold, the outcome happens.
See, I told you he was amazing. And that's only a wee highlight from our conversation. So it's episode 102. We will link it in the show notes. I highly recommend. We cover so much. And do you know what? Jerry and his wife Miriam are absolutely changing lives with the work they do. It's all about our mindset, about how we speak to ourselves. And I often think of his words whenever I meet challenges along the way. What would Jerry tell me to do? So that's how you know you've met someone special. Thank you for listening to the Digg podcast and to our Digg highlights. I hope you're enjoying them. And I will see you again on the Digg podcast next week.